Hello, this is Sheryl Noethe, Montana's Poet Laureate, here to teach you another poetry lesson. This lesson I drew from this book, which is called Many Winters, and it's prose and poetry of the Pueblo people, collected by Nancy Wood. She does not name the specific writers of these poems because she said that each poet has the message that they want to give to you, and that she wants to present the work as a collection of pieces by these people. They live under the Taos, T-A-O-S, Taos Mountain of the Rio Grande Valley of New Mexico. They live in buildings that they have literally dug into the earth to build, and have series of ladders to get from various story to story, and if under attack they can pull the ladders up. So the first poem I'm going to read you is a lesson about the hand. Now when you look at your hand, you can see a history of your life. Looking at your hand, the most prominent lines are the heart line, the mind, the line of the head, and the lifeline. And so when you look at your hands, there's a story. Oh, the calluses, I got these from digging in my garden. And the bit nails, well, I'm trying to get over that habit. And when you have X's and crosses, it represents good luck. So palm reading is a very old hobby, but many people really count on it. So I use this to introduce the poem. With these hands, I have held a bird with a broken wing. With these hands, I have touched my children in the sun. With these hands, I have made a house of living earth. With these hands, I have worked a field of growing corn. With these hands, I have learned to kill as much as I have learned to live. These hands are the tools of my spirit. These hands are the warriors of my anger. These hands are the limitations of myself. These hands grow old and feel unfamiliar walls as they reach out to find the world I used to know. Now, when you write this poem, you can use the form of the list of repeating and changing. I'm sorry, the chant form of repeat and change. With these hands I have. With these hands I have. And I want you to talk about, what have you done with these hands? Have they saved your face when you went off the front of your bike? Have they helped you to communicate with sign language for deaf people? Have they cradled a child? Do your hands reach out in kindness? Do you use your hands to pet a cat, to ride your bike, to climb the monkey bars, to hold and to let go? And so this first poem represents what your hands have done for you and how you use them. And if you think about it, you use them constantly. Now, there is a corresponding poem in this collection, and this poem is called The Hands That I Remember. And so if you are doing this lesson, you may expand it or choose instead this poem. The hands that I remember were of my father cutting down the tree, asking forgiveness for its death. The hands that I remember were of my mother showing me the purpose of a flower. The hands that I remember were of my brother killing rabbits so he might later hunt the deer. The hands that I remember were of my sister digging earth to discover a newborn tree. The hands that I remember were of my grandfather, teaching me the way to the mountain of my life. Now, earlier we had talked about metaphor. Metaphor is when you compare one thing to another to make more clear the connection they have. So the metaphor that I love in this poem is in the last line, where the author says, "The hands that I remember were of my grandfather, teaching me the way to the mountain of my life." The mountain of my life is the metaphor here. And I think it's a lovely one. And it's also well chosen because the people are surrounded by mountains. And so it's an important part of their surroundings and of their life. When I think about the hands that I remember the woman who lived next door to us who was a seamstress. And she would pin pieces of fabric together to make a blouse. And then she would put them on the sewing machine. There were pins all over the floor, and as she got older, my job was to go pick the pins up off the floor. My hands are good for picking pins. My hands are good for petting animals. My hands reach out only in peace, never in violence. My hands use sign language to express my feelings. And these hands are calloused and scarred, but I love them, and they're still working beautifully for me. And these hands contain a language. So take a look at your hand, and then turn it over and trace it on the page. Once you've traced it, look at the lines on your hands, the most outstanding lines, which are, of course, the heart line, the head line, and the lifeline. Look at these lines, and you can write about your hand as though it were a map. This is when I was young and I lived on the prairie. This is when I got a little older and took my first airplane. This scar is when I fell off the swing set. And this one is when the dog bit me. Your hands tell a story, they tell a history, and they're also a map. Your hands have done innumerable things without really paying attention. So today, pay attention to your hands. What are their strengths? Are there weaknesses? Do you drop things like me? Do you catch yourself when you fall? Do you help others? If your hands are covered with wrinkles everywhere, then your hands tell the story of a long, long soul that has carried through. So remember how important your hands are, and try to express what they do, how you use them, how they help you, and whatever else you can imagine. Thank you. See you next time.